Let's go. Oh, man. Hello and welcome to this episode of Through the Realm of Light and Shadow. It's so serious and daunting. When we last left off, you, a wonderful group of adventurers, commandeered the remaining wagon and slowly made your way into the Mirkwood. As the night went on, you found a small area where some trees had warped and twisted around each other, forming a small shelter against the rain and elements. As you hunkered down for the night, Edrahel spoke longingly about the way that Mirkwood used to be before it was touched and eventually corrupted by the shadow. Nebuchadnezzar took the first watch for the night. He heard something skittering nearby. Edrahel snuck closer towards the road to get a look at the creatures they had heard earlier. Spiders. They slowly left the area of your camp, and Edrahel went back to sleep after speaking briefly with Nebuchadnezzar. As Nebuchadnezzar ended his watch, he climbed down from the tree on which he had been providing overwatch. Through a series of unfortunate events, Nebuchadnezzar slipped, and one of his metal beard clasps was caught on a knot in the tree. His yelp of pain was heard by both Edrahel and Cyril, who awoke to find Nebuchadnezzar hanging by his beard from the tree. As they attempted to catch Nebuchadnezzar, Edrahel was spotted curiously taking off his cloak and providing no assistance. However, Cyril did manage to arrest Nebuchadnezzar's fall. During Edrahel's watch, the spiders returned in greater numbers. They quickly, as a party, were destroyed. You guys dispatched them with almost very little effort. The party then went to work harvesting the spiders for fangs and venom sacs. You successfully retrieved 3 venom sacs and 1 spider fang. Fangs are about 3 inches long and they have a very slight curve. Upon realizing that this journey will take weeks, you set off on your first journey into the heart of the Mirkwood, one which will take, well, a few weeks in and of itself. As you set off on your journey, you have some decisions to make. As a party, you all need to decide who's going to fill the following 4 roles. A scout. The scout should hopefully be proficient in stealth and investigation. A hunter, who is hopefully proficient in survival. A lookout, proficient in perception, and a guide who has wisdom and survival. Those would be the recommended traits of someone in those roles. So I know you guys were speaking earlier. You might want Edrahel's character to take on the role of the guide, but you have some choices to make. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
Really, the only one that I'm proficient in of the ones that were listed was survival.
Yeah, same. But I do have animal handling as well. So if I hunt, we might get extra bonus if we can maybe tame something, gain its trust, and then
who has a high
keep its trust and make friends with it for a long time.
I have a high wisdom.
I have 12.
I have 12 as well.
I have 14. Will and I are probably good with perception, so we would probably be good lookouts.
Okay.
I think
so
that
Cyril and Wilhelm will take on the role of lookout. Edrahel, did you want to take on guide?
I'll take guide, yeah. It serves better.
So scout and hunter.
I can hunt, but I'm fine hunting with somebody, but it may be wise to either have 2 scouts or 2 hunters.
So one thing that I think is important for you guys to also keep in mind, scout is stealth and investigation. So even if you don't have proficiency in that, if you have disadvantage on stealth checks, I would not recommend being a scout. And Dala, I believe that you have disadvantage on stealth checks.
Oh, wait, I just realized I have a +5 to stealth.
Oh, you're a scout.
Because I'm a hobbit.
You are a scout.
Probably still a scout.
This
Which
is
would
like
leave Nebuchadnezzar and Dala for hunter. If you guys are happy with that.
I guess We shall hunt. Hunt we shall.
Okay. All right. So those are going to be your 4 rolls.
Okay.
At which point, typically in a journey, the guide would then make an embarkation roll, which would be a D12 plus a variety of things. I already took care of that first one. I know, Gabe. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
I got the best possible result for you. So in reality, you should be grateful to me. Thank me. Or
You're writing my story. Are you writing our story?
Yes. So after your rather painful encounter that morning with the spiders, you guys harvest your venom sacs, you harvest your fangs, and you prepare to set off deeper into the Mirkwood.
Before we get started,
like to do, yeah.
Yeah, Cyrell's gonna talk to the group, and he's gonna be like, "Good job getting that stuff from the spiders. Is anyone good with potions or, I don't know, herbs or something? Can we make like an anti-venom thing of what we've got just in case we encounter them along the journey?"
I'm sure the elf is good with that type of thing. Him with his pointy ears and herbs and stuff.
You can always try it. It's always interesting to try new things. I don't remember the last time that I did one, but yeah, sure. Why not?
I've got a pipe if you want to smoke.
So you're good with herbs, is what you're saying?
No smoking. We're making anti-venom. So I'll make anti-venom here.
I slowly hand her the poison sack just to see what happens.
So, Edgerhell, do you think you can do something with this?
Let's find out. Lord Master, what we would need to do to get an anti-poison, anti-venom?
To create an anti-venom from the venom sacs that you have. Yeah, I'm thinking through. Yeah. No one here really has any background with alchemical science that I remember from your backstories. It would be a disadvantage, and it would be a medicine check.
Medicine.
Yeah.
All right.
And whether you succeed or fail, it would definitely consume a venom sac on each attempt.
One whole venom sac?
Yes. If you had, if one of you had alchemical supplies, like an actual set, or otherwise training in that field, you'd probably get rid of the disadvantage. But yeah, you can certainly try though.
So hey, Dorf, what were you thinking to use the fangs on the poison sacs for?
I was just gonna have them to put them all over my axes and spears and to take out whatever we need to fight. But if you think that you can pull this thing off, then I'll trust you. I just don't trust you that much. But I'll trust you this time.
If you want to try and create an oil of spider venom that you can apply to your weapon to last for X amount of time, that wouldn't be nearly as hard as trying to craft some sort of anti-venom. So I would say you wouldn't have disadvantage, and the DC would most likely be a lot lower if you wanted to do that. Given the size of the spiders, Nebuchadnezzar, I'd say that probably one venom sac, you'd probably get 2 vials of that oil if you wanted to attempt it.
I think right now I'm going to pass on that.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to keep my sack, actually, if I can, because I never know when I need to spike my drink a little bit, give myself a little oof. So,
okay.
You know.
All right. So Nebuchadnezzar's going to hold on to his sack. What about the other 2?
Okay. Are you willing to do it? Mr. Cyril, are you willing to do it?
Am I willing to do what?
Are you willing to use one of the venom sacs to try to do this thing?
Sure. Why don't we at least try to make the poison oil? That sounds helpful.
Okay.
And the other depends. If you want to try to make the antivenom, we can. But if not, we can hold on to it and maybe use it in the future. So
I was actually thinking about using the oils for the arrows, and the arrows of Dala and Haley.
Alright.
So
So let's do the oil first. So between the two of you, you've got 2 venom sacks. So you take 1 venom sack, and you've got a couple of vials, and you're going to attempt to conjure up a little bit of oil of spider venom here. So Cyrell, go ahead and give me a medicine check.
Oh, I'm doing this?
I mean, or Edrahel, but he asked you if you would do it.
I'm not the best at medicine. I could try.
Would anyone else prefer to do it?
I don't think any of us has an advantage in medicine.
We should have Will do it.
Well, medicine's a wisdom, so I think we're metagaming too much.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, you're not in a rush. So if one of you feels like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that kind of stuff. But if not, Cyrell.
I think Edgehell should do it.
All right, I want
Since
to
he
try
has
that.
the highest wisdom.
Edgehell? All right.
All right. Oh boy, I didn't roll right. That is a 13.
A 13. 13 is just enough to make the 2 vials that you needed for oil of spider venom. So you've got 2 vials. If you wanted to apply them to your barbed arrows, it would probably take both to cover all 30. You could use one to do about 15 or so, and then give one to someone else to put on a weapon, or you can use both however you want to dole those out. But you now have 2 vials. It will either 1 vial for 1 weapon or 1 vial for about 15 arrows.
What do you guys say if there's 3 arrow users here, so what if we put 5 poison arrows in each one of us so that we have like 5 for Haley, 5 for Ritala, and 5 for myself? That way we each have some poison arrows that we can use when we see fit. And then the other vial, since it was Nebuchadnezzar's idea, then he can use it however he pleases.
Okay. So strategic decision, I like it. Each of you, make sure you note that you have 5 spider venom arrows. On top of the regular arrow damage that you deal, it will also deal 1d6 of poison damage when you hit your target. So make sure to denote that, because I am not going to remember. So let me know when you're using an arrow, if you're using an arrow that has poison on it, so that we can make sure we take care of you.
Cyrell says, impressive, Edrahel. Good job.
All right.
And he notes that he has a short bow and arrows as well, but he doesn't use them quite as often, so he's happy with you guys having them.
Oh,
He just slides it in there. It's like,
Cyrell notes that he
I also have a short
you
bow,
know.
I also have some arrows. You guys know about the arrows. I have some too, just let
only 3 of us have used them, so anyway. You ready
That's
to
fair.
start?
I agree with it. I'm just letting you know for future use. I have some arrows as well.
Did you want to also try and make the anti-venom with the other sack right now, or do you want to hold on to both of them? Something to keep in mind, you did pull that sack out of a living creature. You probably only have a couple days before it rots, unless you find a way to preserve it. So you're going to want to use them sooner rather than later. The vial is going to last probably for quite some time, but the sack itself is going to... We lost my wife. The sack itself is probably going to and die. So make sure that you use those in the next day or 2. Time is going to go by quite quickly in the journey. We're going to go through days in a matter of minutes. So that's just something to keep in mind. You're not going to have a lot of time to hold on to them.
Well, I saw how easy the elf made the poison vial, so I guess I'll use mine. I'm gonna give it a try. This can't be that hard. This can't be that hard. I got 11.
11 on a medicine check?
Yeah.
All right. You watch Edrahel. I would say closely, but after about 30 seconds of watching him, you think, it's so easy, a child could do it. So you stop paying attention to how he is sort of distilling the venom out of the sack safely and mixing it with a carrier oil and preparing it for application to your weapons. However, you do succeed in mixing oil and venom together into a couple of vials. You actually got 4 vials out of it. You think yourself as obviously better than the elf, because he had 2 vials. Now you've got 4 vials of venom, question mark?
I just like hold them. I have like two in one hand, two in the other hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you, as far as you can tell, they've been quite effective, and you're excited that you have 4 vials of this venom oil. So just let me know when you use them.
I want to give 2 to Will to say that he needs to watch out for himself. This will keep him safe, and I give him my word. I say this will keep you safe, Will.
And Cyrell's going to block that and say, Will, don't take that.
No one knows that I did a bad job on these. You guys know I made 4 vials. I'm just saying.
Cyrell still tells Will not to take it.
Wow. My guy's trust goes down for Cyrell.
I'm guessing the worse that you do with the vials, the best they're for the weapons, because that way they're gonna make more. I don't know.
Yes.
More damage, probably.
All right. Well,
Question mark.
Let me know when you use it. Moving on. So, as you guys pull up all of your materials from camp, you do have the wagon with the 2 horses. You guys did check on during the fight, make sure they didn't get spooked. You've also got your 2 horses for Cyrell and Wilhelm. As you look ahead, you definitely see that the road as you go deeper into the Mirkwood is not just full of twists and turns, but there are areas where it's been completely uprooted, where trees are blocking its path. Even from the short distance that you can see, you get the feeling that the wagon is not going to take you very far, more than not. So you get the sense you're probably going to have to leave the wagon. You can take the horses if you would like, but the wagon is not going to get you much further.
How many horses do we have?
Cyrell and Wilhelm each have 1, and then there's 2 that were pulling the wagon. So 4.
Okay, so I'm going to have to ride with somebody.
Yes. Also, you're a hobbit, so that's helpful.
Yeah.
I say, well, there's gonna be 2 people that are gonna have to ride because it's 6 of us.
Yeah.
It will.
There's actually only 5 of you. I don't count. Oh, Wilhelm's there. 6 people. Yep. I always forget about counting him. Sorry.
I say Dalla and Haley ride with Will and Cyrell. Since they're
I would
Well,
suggest Dalla have
Dalla's
her
got a lot
own,
of armor.
and she's a full human. So probably Haley and
That's
perhaps Chad might need to. Or Edrahel, you're probably light. You might.
Also,
true. I just hang from a horse.
because the terrain that you're on, something to keep in mind is as severe and daunting as it is, that wouldn't allow for wagons to travel through. There's a good chance you're not really going to be moving at any kind of a speed on the horse. So in reality, someone who's walking is going to be able to keep up with you guys just fine, because you're not going to ever be galloping inside the Mirkwood, from what you can tell. You can just use the horses to get off your feet for a couple hours if you want, but you're not going to be moving at a pace that someone walking with you isn't going to be able to keep up.
All right. I'll walk, but I'm going to tell the guys to keep some room on the horses just in case we find some goodies on the way over there. We can use them as like our pack mules, our pack stallions. If that's a thing.
I mean, I've got sturdy feet. I don't even wear shoes, so I can walk too. We just take turns if we need to.
I'm okay with that. I'll walk too. It's exciting. I like walking.
All right.
Dalla, what would you like to do?
Dalla.
What?
Hey, Dalla, what would you like to do? Are you riding a horse or are you walking?
I'll walk.
Okay.
Okay.
Will and I are going to ride our horses. Are you guys going to walk next to the other 2 horses?
Yes, I'll grab one of the horses. So we'll
Awesome. All right.
Okay. So Edrahel, you're the guide. Who is the hunter?
Me and Dalla are the hunters.
Dalla and Nebuchadnezzar. The lookout is
Cyrell and Will.
Okay, and the scout will be Haley. All right. All right.
All right, let's start this journey. Woo-hoo. Ready to go.
You guys have embarked. Yay! Mirkwood is daunting.
Like,
and
we get like a
horrible.
cool kind of like crane shot, like helicopter shot of us walking through the woods.
What's a helicopter?
Eagle shot, eagle shot, eagle shot.
Eagle shot.
There you go. Thank you.
A bird's eye view.
All right. So here is what happens. Rocks fall, everyone dies. No.
Oh,
You guys set out. Some of you on horses, some of you walking alongside. The beginning of your journey deep into the heart of the Mirkwood. You expect to get about 12 miles or so in a day, which is just over, if you're looking at the maps in the player's handbook, it's a little over a hex. A hex is about 10 miles in the campaign setting. Even 2 or 3 miles into the Mirkwood, you start to get this constant feeling of oppression and darkness closing in. You felt it even just looking at the outside of the Mirkwood. You felt something ominous that sort of had this presence that flowed through the entire Mirkwood, that was oppressive and repulsive at the same time, that made you uncomfortable, that made you even hesitate coming in here. Some of you expressed doubt on why you were going into the Mirkwood earlier, and yet here you are, going deeper still. By the time you get about 3 miles into the Mirkwood, you no longer see any hint of sunlight. The only light that has filtered down are reflections of reflections of reflections. Everything is dim. In some places, darn right, black. You don't really see very much ahead of you. Sometimes, depending on what you're looking at, it's hard to see your hand. I need the hunter to make a survival check.
All right, me and you, Dala, making survival checks. Oh, nice. Guys, I got a 13.
phew. Close call.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I'm mute. Christina,
Anyway, I got a 10.
A 10? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dala and Nebuchadnezzar, you see some signs of tracks left by what don't look like to be spider tracks. You think maybe some deer. Maybe you lucked out and there's a doe of some kind just off the beaten path, and you lead the rest of the party after these tracks. They seem to go on endlessly to the point where you almost get lost at one point. Edrahel, as the guide, I need you to make a perception check.
All right. That is a nat 20.
Nice. Good job.
You needed,
eyes, man.
you needed to roll really well. You didn't have to get a natural 20, but that was good.
It went 25 actually because I.
As you're led off of the path, Edrahel, you instinctively look around, and where others would get very quickly turned around and lost inside of the Mirkwood, you're familiar with the snares and the toils and the slipperiness of the forest. And so as you're taken away from the path, following these tracks for the better part of 2 or 3 hours, you end up climbing up a ridge in the middle of the forest. The ridge is so obscured by the canopy of trees that are planted further down in the ground that you can't see very far. And you lose sight of where the tracks are. And for a moment, you don't know where you are, and you don't know how to get back to the road. You climbed all the way up into this ridge, hoping to kind of get your bearings and figure out where you're going. But in actuality, you never found the animal. You never found any game. You guys prepare to go to bed that night, a little bit hungry and a little bit tired. All of you take a point of exhaustion, unfortunately. So mark that.
What does exhaustion do again?
Exhaustion is going to give you disadvantage on. Let me see here. I had it, and then I lost it. I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
I know what it does in 5th edition. I just suddenly am not sure if it does the exact same thing in Adventures in Middle-earth. This is where I wish we could do a montage for me.
There's a section on the character sheet that says miserable. Is that the same thing?
No. Misery is another thing you can get points for.
Great.
If you want to continue, we can and figure out later, or you can rule it does something now, then if we have to correct later, we can. That's fine.
Yeah, you know what? It's not. I was just poking through the book, and it references exhaustion, but there's not actually a section on it, which tells me, since this is based on the 5e rulebook, that it's going to use the same 5 levels that are in D&D, which means that exhaustion is going to give you disadvantage on ability checks at level 1. So all of you now have disadvantage on ability checks. Wait a second.
No, because it's a level 1, but we're level 2.
Oh, I like that.
Nebuchadnezzar and Dala, did you guys remember to roll with advantage?
No.
Go ahead and do those rolls again real quick. Because the
God.
embarkation roll gave you guys advantage on those checks.
I got a 15 now.
That succeeds. You both failed. 12, okay. 12 is a failure. 15 succeeds. So you still fail, but not as bad. Ultimately, though, it won't change the outcome. You fail a little bit less. You're still taking a point of exhaustion. Something else that would have happened won't happen. So that worked out for you. But you guys all still have a point of exhaustion, which gives you disadvantage on ability checks. So that will cancel out the advantage that you have because of the embarkation roll. So something to keep in mind. More checks during the journey, for now at least, will just be a normal roll. You have advantage and disadvantage, so they cancel each other out. So
Sounds good. Yep.
You guys bed down for the night, unable to really get much rest. And who is taking the first watch?